Rolling tin fist.
Hello, man. I hope you're doing well. I went to one of my car shows today. It's a beautiful day. Had the top down on the ride, and after the show, I stopped at a local spot where I usually get some dessert while overlooking the lake. And it was just me today. The kids went with their mom, and so I'm there about maybe 10 minutes outside, and suddenly this older man walks towards me. He has a cane. He's walking slow. And at first, he looks to me to be maybe in his mid 60s, 70s. And he just says, hey, I saw you sitting there down. You look kind of lonely. And, is it okay if I join you? And I said, sure. He sat down. And we just started talking as, just two men. And turns out, he lived around the area and he was into cars as well. So he was telling me about when he was a younger man and his dad would find old cars at the salvage yard, bring them home, and then find scrap pieces to repair them and restore them. And he would watch his dad do that, and his dad and him would work on these cars. And so he got older, went to the service, that is the military, and got married, started to have kids, and he too continued the tradition of finding old cars, fixing them up. But then he got to a point where it was either the cars or the family, so he sold one of the cars he had been working on and put his focus on his wife and eventually 6 kids. But he always loved to tinker, and he taught his children how to do that. And he just did bits and pieces along the years. And so he kind of asked me, do I have any kids? And I told him, sure, I was married and I had 2 kids, and their ages. And shortly after, his wife came to join us, and she introduced herself and explained, he just had a stroke, so, that's why he had the cane, and, she was trying to help him, stay mobile and maintain his flexibility and, overall health. And I could already tell just by the interaction between the two of them that I don't know if she was a Nawalt or not, but they were definitely products of a different generation where those traditional roles still meant something. He had just retired, and, he did his part and she did hers. And, that was just the way it was. And he alluded to that before she came. And I didn't have the heart to tell him. I think he suspected from some of the other things he said. But I didn't have the heart to tell him that, not only was he from a different era, but compared to when he got married, things were very different in my generation. I didn't want to tell him that today, if you got married, you really didn't get the same deal you did before. In expectation that your spouse would adhere to whatever deal you made, whether she's going to stay home or, heck, if she makes more, you still stay home. Whatever the arrangement is, don't count on it sticking, And I was kind of sad at that because here he was, about 80 or something. He had to be, judging by how old his kids were, he had to be at least mid-80s. And on one hand, while I kind of maybe romanticized life of that era, I couldn't help but feeling that we're never going to see that as men ever again, you know. But the word isn't out as much as I wish it were, with the red pill. There's still tons of men getting married who think they're going to have a marriage like yesteryear. And it's just one big lie. It ain't going to happen. And that's part of why you have scenarios like Robin Williams. I'm sure he grew up in an era where he thought, hey, I'm going to find that gal, I'm going to have some kids, we're going to get a house, we're going to have a blissful life while I do this and she does that, and it'll be great. And of course, you try it once, excuse me, it fails, so you say, you know what, I just didn't find an Walt. And then you try again, and you say, well, third time's a charm. But unfortunately, each time you do this, it costs you a little bit more. And again, you're never told any of this. You're never told any of this. And that's why the red pill is so important, because I think it's one of the things that can save men from, particularly married men, from committing suicide due to the pressures of being trapped on one hand by marriages and relationships that don't work while extracting resources, including health, from the man, while on the other hand being held captive by the state, who basically says, if you get out of this, we're going to so punish you, you're going to have to reconsider even trying. And there's a whole bunch of men the state has used to set an example so that any other man who's even thinking about it ought to think twice of the ramifications. So the red pill I think, is really a catalyst for freeing men that are yet in these contractual partnerships, such as marriage, and also the men that are in them, give them some sort of hope that regardless of the paradox they find themselves in, there are some things they can do to maintain their sanity, to maintain their health, to maintain some sense of control of their destinies. Finally, they got up and the couple went for a walk. And before he left, he told me, this life, it goes so fast. And you get to a point where your kids get older. Your health isn't what it used to be. You eventually lose, unfortunately, if it's through health, your autonomy. And then you got to decide, what, am I going to move it with my kids? Am I going to go to a nursing home? What have you? And he says, basically, if I got to tell you one thing, enjoy the time with your children while they're young, because it goes fast. Now, he didn't say enjoy the time with your wife, he didn't say enjoy your big house. He didn't say, enjoy your money. He said enjoy your time with your children while they're young. And if you have or have had young children, you know what I'm talking about. Because that's really the time where you're getting unconditional love, the type of unconditional love that we all seek on some level, okay? Apart from when you're a kid yourself at that age. So you recognize it when you see it, when you feel it. And that, it's really struck me. So this is one of the things for me that keeps me going when I'm not so sure of the path I am on, and I'm navigating towards the things that I hold dear. Excuse me. It's really the look on their faces when I come in from work, and how they're just counting on me. They just counting on me to lead them, to guide them, to take care of them, to love them. I know it won't always be like that, but this is a special time. This is a special time, and I don't take it for granted. And I've always said you don't have to be a parent or father to enjoy this. It comes in many forms. If you just spend time around children of that age, I would say before preteen, you'll sense it once the child resonates with you, that feeling of you're larger than life in their eyes. You're like the best thing since ice cream. And so I'm kind of really glad I had that meeting with him, because it's a reminder to me that not to take what the red pill has done for granted. And for any of you men out there who may be in such relationships or marriages, continue to seek the red pill. You may not be able to change your situation overnight, but day by day, red pill by red pill, you will find the path.